What's going on, everybody? My name's Tim Williams. We're here to break down today's 10-game MLB slate over on DraftKings. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Tim. I've been breaking down these slates over on DraftKings pretty much daily. We break it down. We look at each matchup. We look at the pitchers. We look at the real-life MLB statistics as far as average on base percentage, strikeouts, home runs, where teams kind of rank within the league daily. I find it, it definitely helps a little bit. It doesn't necessarily have to, make or break your decision, but it definitely helps to kind of get a general feel of what's actually happening daily in the league. And then we'll kind of go through some pitcher versus batter kind of statistics here. So without any further ado, let's just jump right in. This first matchup here, we have the Brewers taking on the Phillies. Brewers favored it on the road here, 8 over under. We have Peralta taking on Anderson. Anderson, not a very great pitcher, definitely somebody you don't want to roster in DFS at 7,400. No thanks there. Peralta, definitely a guy who can be in play for sure, especially in GPPs to kind of get away from some of the other aces on the slate. 9,500, really not a bad price on him. The strikeout upside is there. He does tend to walk guys. He uses a lot of pitches, so he doesn't really get too deep into games. So definitely in play. But on the Brewers side, when it comes to bats, Kane is back from an injury at 3.2K. I find that very reasonably cheap. He hit a home run his first game back. So a little interest there just to save some salary. And then Vogelbach as well, 2.9K. I think he has a lot of upside here for his power. And then on the other side for the Phillies, not a whole ton of interest against Peralta. Phillies kind of, struggling here in games. Miller, maybe a one-off at 3.3K if you're seeking some sort of upside value here, power. Next game here, you have the Braves taking on the Nationals. 8.5 over under. You have Max Fried coming back against Fetty. Not actual much interest in either pitcher in this one. I think Fetty is, a little bit better than people kind of give him credit for. He's not a great overall pitcher. Definitely somebody not worth rostering in, any sort of, DFS scenario. Fried at 6,300, I think is awfully cheap. I'm not going to get there personally. First game back off the IR. I think the upside's there. The thing is, he's only going to pitch 75 to 80 pitches or something like that. I don't think he's going to get past 70 or whatever. But as far as the offenses go, Braves, sometimes they're kind of disappointing here. But, as you can see, second in average, sixth in on-base percentage. Those stick out really well. In play would be the right-handed batters here. Acuna at 5.8, Albies at 5K, Ozuna at 5K, Riley for some savings at 4.1. I think they're all somewhat in play here. And then on the national side, I don't really have much interest in the team in general, at least today. Turner at 4.7K, I will say is fairly cheap. I think he's going to get a lot of ownership there. They're just not hitting tons of home runs right now. They're not striking out either. So it makes kind of everybody in play, I guess, but as far as stacking goes, but I just want more upside. Next, you have the Astros taking on the Yankees, 9 over under. You have Garcia taking on Montgomery. I will say if this was like a smaller slate and it was like 5 or 6 games, I would definitely have interest at Garcia. The price is a little high, 8K, but I think overall he's just a better pitcher than a lot of people give him credit for. Matchup's a little bit tough against the Yankees. So that being said, Yankees are hitting a lot better now, 8th in home runs, 8th in on-base percentage. They're not striking out as much as they have been in the beginning of the season. And then on the other side, Montgomery at $8,600. Just not interested. It's a tough matchup for him. I would be interested in right-handed bats for the Astros. That being said, they don't really have too much in play. I do like Bregman at 4A. I think that's very reasonable. He had a home run yesterday. And then on the Yankee side, I don't have a lot of interest in the bats there either. I think Garcia is a better pitcher than people think. Stanton at 4.7, Judge at 5.2, and then Urshela at 4.2 are the 3 main bats for the Yankees I would be interested in. Next, you have the Tigers and the Red Sox. Red Sox at home, favorited 9 over under. It is going to be rainy here in Boston. Weather is this is probably the worst weather game on the slate. It sucks because there's definitely a lot of upside here for the Red Sox. You have Mize taking on Perez. Not interested in either pitcher in this one. Mize, the talent's there. He just can't really put it together right now. And then Perez, I'm definitely not interested in there. Just not a lot of upside. I think you have to consider it just because of the matchup. Tigers, 30th in average, 30th in on base percentage. They strike out a ton, but Perez isn't really somebody I think is like can go deep. And the Tigers, they can touch up pitchers regardless of what you might think. Like they put up 7 runs yesterday against the bullpen. So I think they're kind of sneaky as far as value goes. If this game plays, Tigers, Miggy, Ramos is kind of pricey, but Goodrum, 4.1K, Grossman at 3.1K. I wouldn't say like go out and stack this team, but if you happen to land on one of these guys, I think it's kind of a sneaky underrated move in GPPs. And then for the Red Sox, pretty much, everybody's in play here. Clearly, first in average, third in on base percentage, 14th in home runs here. Verdugo is my top Red Sox at 4.2K. I love the price savings there. Devers, I think he had the day off yesterday, so he's back 5.3K, I'm sure. And then I guess everyone's just kind of in play as well. I think they'll be popular. The weather kind of scares me, though, so keep a watch on that. Next, you have the Dodgers taking on the Cubs. Dodgers favorited here, 7.5 over under. Don't really care for that over under too much. Buehler taking on Alzolay. Buehler at 9,700. I think he's very much in play. I think he'll be lower owned compared to some of these aces, taking on a Cubs team who's 5th in strikeouts, 24th in average, hitting the ball a little bit better as of late. They seem to be crushing the Dodgers. So I just don't have a ton of interest in this game in general. Alzolay as well. Like I'm not interested in him as a pitcher. I think he's a better pitcher than people think he is as well. He strikes out a lot of guys, but that's kind of it. If he's not striking you out, I think he's in trouble. But that being said, Dodgers side, I like the left-handed bats here. Seager at 5.4, Muncy at 5.2, definitely priced up, but in play. And then on the Cubs side, the only 2 guys I would have any interest in this matchup would be Rizzo and Bryant, and they're priced way too up, so no interest there. Next, we have the Rangers and the Twins, 9 over under here. You have Yang taking on Thorpe. Twins favorited. Both pitchers just not great in this matchup. The weather's not that great either, so I don't think there's going to be an explosion of runs here, but probably a bullpen game on both sides. Rangers, hitting the ball a little bit better. I think they're better than people think as well. They definitely strike out a ton, first in the league in strikeouts. They had a nice game last night. In play, Solak at 4.3K. I love Gallo at 3.1, and that's kind of about it. And then on the other side, Thorpe, I think he's a decent pitcher. I don't think he's going to go very deep in this one. I'm definitely interested in the Twins bats, though. Garver, one of my favorite catcher spend-ups here, crushes lefties. 4.9K, Donaldson at 5.1, Cruz at 5.4, Polanco 4.9. Obviously, Buxton's in play as well. The Twins are just kind of pricey. You probably could get the Twins and then, pay up for one of the aces and then kind of get some mid-tier lower pitcher option. It might be tough to get to Twins full stacks here. I mean, 5 guys, but if you can, I think they're definitely in play. Next, we have the Pirates taking on the Padres, 6.5 over under here. Padres favorited. This is probably by far my favorite pitching matchup. I have zero interest in any of the batters in this one. Pirates, I don't love the matchup. Darvish pitching against Brubaker. And then on the Padres side, I have zero interest in bats as well. They've been struggling. I think they kind of hit a plateau. I think they're just in a funk right now, and that's something I think I'm going to take advantage of. I don't think the Padres are going to go higher owned, but some of those stars might be. Brubaker coming in here, I think he's a good strikeout pitcher. He's, pitching, he's striking guys out at a 25% rate. Doesn't walk a ton of guys. I think, he's not as good against lefties, but the lefties in there, they're just not as good as I think they should be. So I think I wouldn't even mind stacking these 2 pitchers here, Brubaker and Darvish. Darvish, huge, massive upside here. I actually prefer Darvish to Bieber in this one. And then Brubaker, I think he's just going to go low owned. I don't think anybody's going to take him against the Padres. It's an earlier game today out in California, 6.5 over under it's a low total. I just love this matchup here on both sides as far as pitching. Next, you have the Indians and the Royals, 7 over under here. And this is probably going to be the top pitcher on the slate, Bieber, taking on Singer, who I also think is going to be very highly owned based on his price at 5.5. Singer is a pretty good pitcher, and I think he's going to go higher highly owned because of that reason to save some salary, and that might lower the ownership on like guys like Darvish or Bueller. And then Bieber, he's a great pitcher too, striking guys out at about a 40% clip. That's insane. That's like DeGrom-esque. I personally, if I'm doing 1 to 3 lineups here, I might just fade Bieber and hope for the best. Kansas City's a little bit of a tougher matchup. Kansas City has their own problems as well. They have a lot of trouble leaving guys on base. So they have some struggles to work through, but Royals 8th in average, 16th in on base percentage, 27th in strikeouts. They don't strike out a ton. Bieber should probably crush in the spot, I'm sure, but some of the bats I really like. Benintendi at 2.5K, Santana at 4.4K, O'Hearn at 2.3K. If you really need a punt, I think those two guys plus Santana have a decent shot of, doing something. And then Bieber and the Indians, left-handed bats in play here. Ramirez at 5.7. It's a little pricey, but I do like Eddie Rosario at 3.7, maybe as a one-off against Singer, just to maybe get some leverage on some of that ownership that Singer presents. And then next we have the Rays Angels here. Yarbrough taking on, it looks like it's going to be somewhat of a bullpen game. Kitteridge, it's really going to be Ohtani, I believe. So a lot of question marks surrounding this game. The Rays, they kind of went off yesterday. They still strike out second most in the league. And then on the Angels side, they absolutely just crush. I think Yarbrough is actually a pretty decent pitcher, maybe not so much for fantasy, but in real life. So I don't really have a ton of interest on the Angels side. Rendon maybe at 4.6, but that's kind of it. The Rays, I think they're going to strike out. They could definitely put up some runs. It's just a kind of a question mark game. I think I'm just going to skip over it. There's a lot of good spots in the slate. And then last but not least, you have the Blue Jays taking on Oakland, 8 over under here. You have Ray taking on Bassett. Both pitchers fairly decent here. Ray is kind of making a comeback this season. He's striking guys out. I don't fully buy into it for sure. And Oakland's kind of a tough matchup. 15th in on-base percentage, 3rd overall in home runs in the league. Yes, they can strike out, but Robbie Ray, we've seen it in the past. He can walk guys. He can give up home runs. Oakland's at home. I just lean more to the Oakland side. If there's going to be ownership for Robbie Ray, I definitely have more and more interest in Oakland as well. For the Blue Jays side, it's going to be a tougher game. Bassett's not a bad pitcher. He's a little too priced up for me. I think you could be sneaky to go with somebody like Bassett if you're playing GPPs, you're trying to win. He's just not going to overwhelm you with the strikeouts, but if I had to pick anybody, it would be left-handed bats against Bassett, but I think there's only one in there, Biggio. So I think the matchup kind of favors Bassett here. And then on Oakland side, I think everybody that can swing the bat with the right-handed is by far in play. Laureano at 4.9K, Chapman at 4.5 is cheap, Canna at 4.5, Lowry at 4.3. I think he goes low owned. Piscotty at 2.8K. Love the matchup here. So there's definitely a lot of spots you can go here. You can definitely grab an ace. You can grab 2 aces if you want to play it that way. We saw that yesterday. That's kind of how most people played their lineups. They went 2 high pitchers and then went with some vomit stacks there. But definitely a lot of ways you can go in this one. That's it. My name's Tim. That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. Comment below. I'm curious to see what some of your thoughts are on this slate. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It certainly helps me out. I have a lot of fun doing this. So that's it. Take it easy. Best of luck with today's slate. And I hope variance is on your side.